G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm going to talk about the State of Origin Performance Index, which was a performance calculation algorithm that I created a number of years back to help distinguish the quality of any individual's performance in a State of Origin game. Now back in 2018 I was doing work with Finder, one of the biggest websites in Australia, and they were the sponsor of the State of Origin series that year. And they were trying to find some sort of unique content angle to help them stand out. Now, I got involved with the project being a Rugby League tragic and started working on that content. And the idea at the time was 2018 there was a huge amount of rookies that were in the State of Origin team. I think there was 11 from memory in the New South Wales Origin team for game one. So I had this theory that a lot of people are going to be talking about rookies. If I could create some sort of content which plugged into that rookie concept, then it would get picked up and talked about. And at the time I was doing a lot of kind of NRL data analysis for with the NRL, because Finder was a service sponsor in NRL, but also with NRL 360 and some of the Fox Sports shows at the time. I was feeding some data across to those guys, so I was kind of deep into it at the time. So anyway, what I ended up doing was I thought, what if I pull out all the statistics from the history of State of Origin and start analysing them? That's how you do any data analysis content, by the way. Just start with the data. The data then tells the story, right? So I pulled it all. And we're talking 40 years of games and pulled all the data for every single performance by every single player across all the classic metrics. So we're talking tackles, meters gained, runs, tries, goals, all the obvious things, offloads, errors, everything you can imagine, right? The full sweep of stats for every single player in every single game the entire way through since 1980. So I started pulling all those out. Then I started working with my brother. Now my brother is a bit of a coding expert, he's a bit of a Excel sheet guru, and he sat down with us. Now at the time he was building supercoach tools. So he was devising calculations and Excel sheets that could predict the value of players in supercoach, and was using those, he was selling them to those high level supercoach players, and the supercoach guys were using his tool to try and work out how to adjust their players, especially around the time of Origin, and trying to basically maximise the purchase and sell values. So he was working deeply on that stuff. So together we ended up building an algorithm that took all those components across a State of Origin game and computed out a score, a performance index. Now we tweaked these somewhat to be kind of what we thought is more impactful in Origin, like, you know, making 40 tackles in a game of Origin's a lot more than making 40 tackles in a regular game. Averaging more than 10 metres a run is a lot more in Origin than it is in just a normal game, because the quality and the standard is a lot higher. Makes sense, right? So we went through and we just played around with this for ages, and the Excel sheet algorithm ended up like this massive, huge thing, right? But we wanted to make sure that the backs and the forwards were getting kind of equal side of representation here. So we managed to kind of develop this formula in such a way that it would reward bonus points to forwards for performing when it came to tackles and offloads and metrics that are forwards measured by, more so than tries and goals. But obviously tries and goals and things like that are meaningful as well. Kick meters, or, you know, all the kind of stats you can imagine. Now that was in 2018. Now since then I've kept it updated, and every single year there's been a State of Origin game or 3 State of Origin games. I've updated that sheet and updated all the stats. And I'll put some links down in the description below so you can actually link through to those stat pages and check them out for yourself. So all those are updated every single year on the finder.com.au website, and I go through and make sure that they're plug in the algorithm and see what the results are. And I love it. I love diving in and seeing those stats. Now, what I'm going to do over the next, today is the Tuesday before Game 3 of State of Origin 2023. It's a dead rubber, sadly. Being a New South Wales fan, very disappointed with the performance of our team and our selections. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over the next 24 hours a number of shorts detailing some of those statistics. So if you're into your Rugby League, if you're into State of Origin, make sure you stay tuned to the channel, and you can come along for the ride, because the reality of this spreadsheet is that because it's got every single piece of data related to State of Origin in it, as well as producing this performance index, which basically measures people against each other, it also has, I've got a pivot table running on it where I can basically just choose any player at any moment in time. It'll tell me exactly how many tries, goals, points, run meters, tackle busts, everything they've ever done. And I can measure that across every single player. So I've created stat tables which are on find.com.au, and there's many more stats that I haven't got up there yet. that you can go through to basically just fill yourself with State of Origin stats that are the real deal. So I'm going to do that over the next 24 hours, so stay tuned. And then after game 3, I'll also update you guys on the performance index stats of that particular game. Now, in terms of the performance index, it's really, really interesting. And if you're a Rugby League tragic like I am, I totally recommend diving in because it is very accurate. And when you look at, when you watch a game and you think, well, I think the 3 best players were these 3, and then you go look at the performance index for those games, absolutely, you can tell that it's tuned in pretty damn well and hits the mark more or less. And I've got a whole range of different kind of ways I've approached this. So I've got originally I started, like I said, with the rookies. So I've got the top 50 rookie performances of all time listed up on the website. I've also got the top 50 performances by substitutes, because obviously if you start a game and play the whole 80 minutes, your stats are going to show that you contributed a lot much more to that game. Your performance index is going to be higher. However, substitutions, they're kind of competing in their own field to a certain extent, although the best New South Wales performer in game 1 was Liam Martin, according to the performance index, who was a substitute in that game. So it doesn't always ring true. So because you get penalised for making errors, missed tackles, things like that, you can get negative points, which means you can go down. So it's an overall performance index of how well a player performed on that day. So as a result, people have scored negatives. And you may not be surprised to find out that Nico Hines scored -1 for his game 1 performance. Not that I blame him at all for that, but and he's not even the lowest. I think Max here's got a -4 points for one of his games once. Aaron Raper got 0, he never even got on the field. But the best ever performance by anyone was in the 200s. And it's someone you probably wouldn't have guessed who it would be, was Brett Hodgson. And if you don't agree with me, go look up his stats from the first game he played. It's absolutely unbelievable. But the average is around 70 or 80 from memory, so it's just around that kind of sweet spot. So if you get over 100 in the performance index in State of Origin, you're doing quite well. Now this algorithm can be applied to any game. Like I said, I kind of tweaked it a little bit to kind of give it a bit of State of Origin oomph, because it's a different breed of game than your standard NRL game. But it still does work across any NRL game, not that I have gone to the effort and energy to apply it to every NRL game, but still pretty cool, right? So anyway, check out the channel over the next couple of days and I will keep feeding you some stats. Also look at those links below, because that's where you can just go browse through them. I do have on that website every single performance from every single player through the history of the State of Origin and all their performance indexes for every single game, so you can go check that out if you really want to dive into it. It's a lot of rows. It's a lot of rows. And you can also see the averages, like who's been the best performer over many games. You know, who are the names that actually have performed well at State of Origin level, game after game after game after game. It's very interesting. I love it. Anyway, I'm Chris Stead. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned.